Hello all. So I wanted to do this video. I'm just going to free run it and I'm just going to talk about the eating disorder. From that post the other day, a lot of people commented and messaged me and just said how it's quite nice to see males talking about eating disorder and how it affects us too. I wasn't aware that people didn't know it affected males as well. But I assume that's what it is, and people don't see a lot of males talking about eating disorders, so I'm going to do it now. So, as a baby, like your normal baby, I was actually a little chubster, but go on like 4 or 5 years, and I started to develop this very, very fussy behavior surrounding food. And it wasn't long before, it was probably around primary school time when it all started, and I just wasn't eating anything. There was nothing that I could tolerate. There was nothing that I enjoyed. There was nothing that I liked. There was nothing that served me in any way. And I ended up eating essentially what people call just like the beige diet. There was no goodness. There was no health. There was no colours. The thought of some foods made me feel sick. The texture, the taste of some foods made me feel sick. There was no desire to want to eat anything different than simply white bread, crisps, chips, milk. That was essentially my diet, probably for about 10 years. And it was massively, massively compromising to every single aspect of my life. I missed out on a lot of stuff. I was probably in an extremely compromised health position. If I was to run you through my packed lunch from what was probably primary school all the way through to mid-secondary school, there would be one butter sandwich, so 2 slices of white bread with butter in between. That eventually progressed to peanut butter. Kind of probably early to mid secondary school. So there was a butter sandwich, 2 packets of crisps, and 2 chocolate bars. At break time, we called it, which was like after your first lesson, it was a chocolate bar and a packet of crisps. At lunch was the sandwich, another chocolate bar, and another packet of crisps. That was my routine. That was my daily food intake for the best part of a decade, for 10 years. And as I progressed through secondary school was when it really started affecting me in terms of I never had a school dinner in my life. Never, ever did I go to the canteen, grab my tray, or I don't even know what you do, to be fair. Grab your tray, grab your meal, and go and sit down and sit with everyone and have lunch. I was always left on the playground on my own with a packed lunch, eating my crisp chocolate bar and sandwich. I'd sit in the corner of the playground on my own and eat it, along with other people that had packed lunches as well, but it was never the same people because everyone would genuinely go and get the school dinners. So it affected me socially a huge amount. It affected me experientially, where, if that's a word, if that's a term, where I missed out on pretty much every school trip through fear of not liking any food. And essentially through fear of dying because I couldn't eat any food that would be presented to me on a school trip, because I had no control over it. I knew it wasn't going to be a peanut butter sandwich. I knew it wasn't going to be a packet of crisps or a chocolate bar. It was going to be whatever the school trip presented to me. And I probably 98% chance I wasn't going to like that unless it was the portion of chips. So I missed out on trips to France, Normandy, China. I missed out on a once in a lifetime trip to China because fear of not eating any food. It got to, it affected my relationships. It affected my family. There was a lot of tears. Even people like my nan, who was worried. I'd go around her house if my parents went away. I'd go and stay at her house, and I would not eat the food that she gave me, and it was very upsetting and worrying, and I could see her and everyone around me very concerned with like how I behaved around food. I was extremely skinny, very, very skinny. And at some point, late teens, I started to get like that skinny fat because it was just like an unhealthy, skinny physique. It affected my family socially. So every time we went out, it had to cater for me. So you can imagine there's not going to be much that caters for that. Every time I went out, unbelievable food, unbelievable dishes that everyone missed out on because I had to go to a place that served like potato, like just chips. Or, many places do, but you're missing out on unbelievable cuisines like seafood restaurants and stuff like this where they just don't serve chips. And all I would order every single time I went out would be chips and a glass of milk. So I'd order a glass of milk for dinner with my family. And not too long after that, it would be, I don't feel very well. I had an upset stomach because those chips, there was some kind of physical or psychological change and adjustment in my body that didn't like it. It was still chips, but it just wasn't from home. It wasn't from what I'm used to. So 9 times out of 10, my family would have to pack up, pick up, pay up and get out and get me home, and they would miss out. So I'd be missing out on just like the food and the social occasion, but they would be missing out on a nice family dinner, and going to a nice restaurant and having a nice dinner because I had to go home. So it affected not just me, it affected so many people. And it got to about probably the age of 14, 15, maybe a little bit later, when I started to care more about how I looked, because the result of 15 plus years of that kind of diet results in a physique that is quite worrying. It's quite skinny and very unhealthy. I would have liked to have known what I was like on the inside. But I probably got to about 16, 17, started training. I was probably training for about a year or two, and just thinking like, how the hell am I going to build this physique that I want, or my dream physique, eating chips and bread and butter? Obviously it's not possible. So interestingly and funnily enough, I said it on a podcast once, you might have listened to it, but my first idea of becoming healthier and just trying to get maybe some meat in or some health in was a chicken mayo from McDonald's. Going to McDonald's and trying a chicken mayo because that is healthier than my diet, and an exposure to some kind of meat, some kind of protein. And obviously I didn't like it. The lettuce came out, the chicken eventually came out, and I just ate the bun, and I scraped all the sauce off of the bun and just had the bread. And there was many times that I wanted food so much. I got to a point where I actually started to really want to have these foods. The smell of a bacon butty was unbelievable. I would try it and I would gag, and I couldn't eat it, I couldn't chew it, I couldn't swallow it. And I'm now coming on to like 17, 18 years old, and things need to change. I tried hypnotherapy, it didn't work. So over the best part of 2 decades, my life was totally consumed by fear of food, extremely unhealthy diet, fear of not liking things, physically not liking things, and it was affecting every single aspect of my life, whether that was my social occasion, my physique, my health, my relationships, my family, my friends, my experiences at school and school trips and school dinners and experiences out in restaurants and everything like that. And ultimately it got to a point where the value of what I held in terms of my health and my physique and my ongoing progress when it comes to like fitness and health and building the physique I want, that started to outweigh the thoughts and almost like the tastes of food. I got to a point where I was forcing myself to like things, not forcing myself to like things, but forcing myself to eat things. Till this day, 27 years old, I tolerate most foods. So I know there's a select amount of foods that I need to eat to support a optimally healthy diet. We're talking like greens, we're talking a lot of fruits, vegetables, berries. I actually quite like berries now. But a lot of my diet up until probably the last couple of years, it was a case of tolerance. It was a case of, I can tolerate this food, I will eat it because it is conducive to what my long-term goal is. So for about 5 years, I was tolerating foods that I knew I had to eat to support my goals, but I wasn't liking them. So you could, pretty much most things I ate from kind of like here now backwards 5 years has been just tolerating food, not enjoying it, not I guess that's a bit harsh, probably about 3 years ago, 5 years back from about 3 years ago. It was a case of tolerating most of the foods I ate. So 5 years of my life there was no enjoyment, there was no pleasure in foods. It was all, I need to eat this, so I'm going to tolerate it. I'm now at a point, 26, 27 years old, where I finally enjoy food, or I finally enjoy the foods I eat now, which is very selective. You know, if you see my stories and you see my food posts, it is very similar. It is very repetitive. It's very monotonous to most people. But to me, I have finally found probably 10 meals that I enjoy that are also conducive to my goals. That's taken me the best part of 25 years to do that, to overcome the disorder, to test things out, to trial things, to tolerate things, to eventually like a very select amount of food. The best thing I've ever done for my eating disorder is that extreme diet. I found myself craving foods that before I've gagged at. Olives. For some reason I was craving olives. I thought, you know what, I'm going to try an onion. Never liked onions, and I roasted some Mediterranean vegetables, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to eat this, because at this point, appetite was extremely high. So anything that I ate was, in my mind, like, oh, food, like delicious, because you get to that point in that extreme diet where you're past hunger and you just need, you don't know what you need, but like the food that went in was extremely satisfying. Maybe not from a taste perspective, but just eating, and there's energy in food, and all these positive and happy emotions around just that roasted Mediterranean veg, of which there was peppers, onions, tomatoes, which 3 things I now enjoy because of the extremity that the diet took me to, which you might not understand, or I can't quite get my head around it, but that was almost the best thing I've ever done. Get myself to a place of absolutely extreme craving for food and energy, and I pretty much could eat whatever. It's kind of gone back a little bit now, because I'm not under extreme conditions of hunger and fatigue and energy, like craving energy. So I've kind of slightly come back towards foods that I more so enjoy rather than tolerate. But tomatoes have stayed in, like onions have stayed in, and I just feel a lot more free now. And by no means am I anywhere near probably any of you watching this where I would still go to a restaurant. I mean, even on my recent holiday, we went to a seafood restaurant, which to any seafood lover or just normal food lover, the menu would have looked insane, and they would have been spoilt for choice. And the people that we was with, they were spoilt for choice. There was one thing on the menu that I could tolerate, so it wasn't even enjoy. It was just cod fillet, and I think there was roasted vegetables. That was the one thing that I was going to tolerate, because I don't really enjoy fish, don't really enjoy white fish, certainly don't like any kind of oily fish. But the one thing I could tolerate, I could sit there and actually just eat it and tolerate it. By no means was it enjoyable. So there's still occasions where I'm completely trapped. But there's not many of those occasions anymore, and I'm sure that will get better. And I'm sure many of you listening to this, this doesn't, I don't know if this kind of eating disorder has a title or has a, it's not like bulimia or anorexia or anything like that. It's just like extreme. And if you know, please do let me know. But it's just like extreme fussy eating that's taken up a couple of decades of my life, 20 plus years. And it's been hard. It's been tough for me, for myself, all the different aspects, all my different avenues, for the people around me, for my family, for my friends, for my experiences, for my school years. It's been hard, but hopefully sharing this with you today, I don't know. I mean, again, like I said at the beginning, I didn't realise people haven't heard many males talk about eating disorders. But I have just done now. So hopefully you learn something from it. If you've got any questions or want to open up a conversation with me, then please do. Hit my DMs, as they say, slide into the DMs. But yeah, I'm all for more open and honest conversation about people's challenges and struggles, and this is just another one of them. So if you've got any questions, please do slide into my DMs. But other than that, I'm sure there's plenty of things I've missed. I've just free ran this. There's plenty of things I've missed, probably more challenges and struggles, and more I probably will think about and probably want to talk about. But for now, that's just kind of quite a quick overview of my experience with an eating disorder. See you later.